So as far as insects go, these guys can eat crickets, roaches, different worms, things like that. Personal tip, I never like to overdo it on the Hey guys, it's Colin. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about one of my favorite reptiles in the entire hobby, the Rankin's dragon. So, I'm sure everyone in the viewing audience is familiar with the standard bearded dragon, or AKA the central bearded dragon. That's the most commonly kept species of bearded dragon in the United States. That is called, the scientific name is Pagona viticeps. But this is a relative. This is in that same genus Pagona, but this is Pagona henry lawsoni. So this is what is known as the Rankin's dragon. A couple of main differences between your central bearded dragon and your Rankin's dragon. So on your Rankins, they're gonna get, so the first thing is size. Unlike the larger central bearded dragon, these guys are also going to be a little bit on the smaller side. So generally as an adult size, they reach a maximum length, including tail, of anywhere from 8 to 10 inches. Now they can get up to about 12 inches, but realistically, the biggest adult you're gonna see out there is about 10 inches in length. These guys, of course, have a smaller stature. They also look morphologically, in terms of their features, a lot different. These tend to have a shorter, fatter head, but their head structure looks a lot different than the viticeps. You'll also notice too that these guys have a much different coloration. So these tend to have a really sandy coloration with really crisp white highlights on the body here. And as well, if you look at the side profile, they tend to have 2 striations of color, or 2 stripes down the side of the face, which the viticeps do not. The other thing is that if you look at their head is a lot more rounded than triangular, like the central bearded dragon. So that's basically size. So what size enclosure do you need to take care of your Rankin's dragon? Here at the Tye-Dyed Iguana, what I would recommend, if you wanted a single individual Rankin's dragon, or even up to 2, depending on the sex ratio, we would recommend the minimum enclosure size as a 40-gallon breeder tank. Now, if you wanted to provide a larger enclosure, like a 75-gallon or a 4x2x2, if you wanted to add lots of extra rocky outcrops, branches, things like that for them, they would absolutely love that. Just make sure they have plenty of hiding spaces to be secure. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to heating and lighting. The next thing we're going to talk about when we talk about our Rankin's dragon is substrate. So these guys are found in the dry, rocky, arid regions and like scrub brushlands of Queensland, Australia. So it's a very dry, hospitable environment. So substrates. Here at the Tye-Dyed Iguana, we tend to use desert blend, which is a ground walnut material that is basically a little bit coarser than what a sand would be. If you want a more utilitarian substrate, desert blend would be a great option for you. And the nice thing about the desert blend is that you can sift it to clean it as needed and keep it nice and fresh and clean. Although, having said that, admittedly, it is not the most natural looking substrate there is, but it is very reliable and does work effectively. If you're wanting a more naturalistic substrate for these guys, once they're a juvenile to adult size, if you're wanting to change it up or maybe go with more of a bioactive tank, some products I might recommend for you. In a larger vivarium, you might consider doing a blend of like Zoo-Med Reptisoil with Exoterra Stone Desert. But with these products, it can be a little bit tricky to dial in the exact moisture level because keep in mind, they do like it drier. So, humidity for a Rankin's dragon. The ideal humidity range for your Rankin's dragon should be anywhere from 30 to 50%. For most people, this is the room temperature humidity in your house, so you will not need to do any adjustments. It would be extremely rare. You're not going to really require a humidifier or spraying or anything like that in the enclosure. Remember, these guys come from very dry, scrubby, brushy outcrops. As far as the lighting is concerned for your Rankin's dragon, we recommend a basking spot here at the Tye-Dyed Iguana from anywhere from 95 to 105 degrees Fahrenheit for the Rankin's dragon. These guys tend to like it a little bit warmer on the basking spot compared to your central bearded dragon or your Pagona viticeps. As far as UVB, these are going to require a high quality UVB source, just like any diurnal animal, just like your bearded dragon. So if you're using an all-in-one bulb, you could use a mercury vapor bulb of appropriate wattage. And then if you're using separate light bulbs, use a nice tight beam basking bulb relative to the size of your enclosure, accompanied by a high quality T5 10.0 bulb, and that would work great for you. And then one more thing too, as far as temperature goes, we talked about hot side temps, so cool side temps for the enclosure can be in the lower to mid 70s during the evening, and then during the day, cool side temperatures in the enclosure, low 80s would be great. So, what do Rankin's dragons eat? Rankin's dragons are omnivorous, just like their cousins, the central bearded dragon, although these guys in general tend to stay a little bit more on the insectivorous side throughout their lives. Generally, their diet composition is about 60% insects and probably about 40% greens once they're an adult. When they're a baby, they eat probably about 80% bugs, but they will nibble and pick at salad. Just like the central bearded dragon, the Rankin's dragon appreciates a big variety in the diet. So as far as insects go, these guys can eat crickets, roaches, different worms, things like that. Personal tip, I never like to overdo it on the mealworms or any kind of like hard-shelled worm like that, but they can be great as a treat. So staple diet of insects, crickets, black soldier fly larvae, dubia, those are all gonna be great options for you. And as far as the salad and the vegetables go, stick with the dark leafy greens, collard, turnip, mustard, or dandelion. Stay away from your, iceberg lettuces, romaine, things like that. It's not that they're toxic, just not a lot of nutrition. And then generally we recommend, anytime you're feeding insects, dusting of a high quality calcium supplement, like Zoomed's calcium with D3 is great, or Calcium Plus made by Repashy. And then once a week, I like to throw them a little bit of a multivitamin like Herptivite. So as far as feeding is concerned, generally Rankin's dragons are to be fed once per day. As far as daily care is concerned, make sure the lights are functioning properly if you need to, make sure they're on a timer, consistent photo period, make sure they have fresh water available in their water dish at all times. If they soil it or get it messy, be sure to replace it. Fresh salad, and I like to give my insects after the lights have been on for at least 30 minutes, and make sure if you do feed bugs that day, make sure the lights are gonna be on for at least another hour before the lights go off. That way, they have time to digest under the heat before it goes cold in the tank. As far as maintaining your enclosure as well, you're definitely gonna wanna go through, spot clean any feces or urates as well. Go ahead and refresh that bedding depending on the material you're using. And then as well, if you need to do any sort of other maintenance during the tank, that's a great, excellent time to do that while you have your Rankin's dragon out. If you have any questions about Rankin's dragons or wanna learn more about them, be sure to drop us a message online or come see us in store. Have an awesome day.